So I met Joe
Tell
on
me,
that panel.
people.
I met Joe on that panel, and we started doing. This is the other aspect. Here's the other side of these tech skills. The other side of the tech skills is being an entrepreneur and going after. One is government contracting. The other one, you can go after contracts with the state. You can go after contracts with just different entities when we're talking about commercial contracts as well too. So let me give you a prime example of that. Right now, I'm working on a contract with the state of Tennessee, helping them do a migration to the cloud. They say, "Hey, Tamika, we need your Linux skills. We need your soft skills in showing people how to migrate their stuff to the cloud, and also showing teams how they can adopt this DevSecOps methodology. What is it? How do we do this?" So when I'm speaking on this stuff, I'm speaking from a level of that not everybody knows. Just think you don't know. Just think it's not just you that don't know. It's people who got jobs that don't know either, right? But if you could walk into a position where you have a group of people to help you to understand that, and and guess what? You didn't spend $36,000 to get this. Here you go. So again, I want you to understand that point. I'm gonna let Joe give his perspective on as an entrepreneur of what he sees in the field in terms of tech skills and what he looks for in people as a brother in the space. So it's over to you, Joe.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Hall, and like Tamika said, I've been in this game probably was this 21 years now. I actually got out of the military in 2000, and I moved to St. Pete and went to St. Pete College to pursue my computer programming degree. So I had learned Fortran. I'm dating myself, but Fortran, Cobalt, and C plus and Java. That was like my first couple of languages before Microsoft kidnapped me. But what I did learn is just like what Mr. Reginald was saying. You know, when you start in this game, uh, you want to be tech heavy, and as you graduate and grow in this game, you want to have your bachelor's and your master's degree, because what happens is you work in this technical arena for a certain period of time, and then as you do well, they want you to be in charge of everything, which puts you into an administrative tier. So that's a administrative pay bracket versus a technical pay bracket. And sometimes they hold it against you if you don't have your degrees. And just like what Reginald said, most of my system administrators that I worked with, they, yeah, I would say majority didn't have degrees. Most of them were all either certified or they had over 16 years experience. Hell, she's completely right. It's nice to have your security plus. If you're working in the government, if you were prior military or prior working in government, and Rico can probably talk on this too, because he's worked in he's worked in a large help desk and system administration environment. It's good just to have that to open up the door to get in, but you definitely need the certifications to back you once you can open up the door, because what happens is they try to place you and keep you in one place, and sometimes help desk sucks. I ain't gonna lie to you. I've worked multiple help desks. Um, it it can wear on you if you're not hungry. And if you're hungry, you're always learning, trying to figure out what the real problem is and how to understand how the problem escalates to the different tiers. So you have the tier one, tier two, tier three, where tier one is help desk, tier two is desktop support, tier three is system administration. And understanding how to solve a problem and move it between the tiers, explaining it, which that foundational skill at help desk, it helps because you're actually, when I became a tier three administrator, maintaining Active Directory, Citrix, VMware, I was going back through the same steps as a normal help desk person. Okay, so how did this user do this? Or you know what, this application broke. I need to figure out why it broke. It's not talking to the storage. Is it talking to the NetApp server? No, it's not talking to NetApp server. You're troubleshooting the profile, or you're digging down trying to find what's the real problem. But if you don't document it from tier 1 to tier 3, it makes it a little harder. And so sometimes learning that foundation helps. And just like when we was on that board with Tamika at St. Pete College talking about entry level into cyber, it's very important to map out your career ahead of time, like what she's saying. Yeah, I'm gonna be straight honest to you. My 20 years of working on Microsoft and working in some coding, and you look at Tamika's career and some of the Linux professionals' career. That was one mistake that it took me a year, maybe 15. I started learning Linux, and the only reason why I was forced to learn Linux because I was implementing a Citrix NetScaler, and all NetScalers are Linux, and so that's what started my pursuit on learning Linux. But it took me to that point to force myself to learn Linux. But if I would have learned that 20 years ago, by far I would have saw a larger grasp of my career. Because when I first met Tamika, I laughed about it because my 20 years, Tamika does it in 15 minutes. When she's automating her processes, automating her servers, she took my 20 years of experience and packaged it, because that's exactly what she's doing. She packaged it in 15, 20 minutes. And I have been, if you look at my resume, I have been to every little stop and step on learning Microsoft, or just understanding how the whole infrastructure works. And you just talking to her and understanding how the automation that she does, it just blew my mind. And I was on the board like, wow, all these years, everything that you do, I already understand. I can manually do it. If I need to get on the ESX server, oh yeah, I can do it. Boom, boom, boom. If I need to get onto an Active Directory server, oh, I can do it. If I need to get, and she's like, oh no, I just put this in this little package and push it, and I'm done, Joe. It's running. And you're spending like all these hours trying to figure out how to connect everything, do the network infrastructure, do all this. I already done it in a couple of minutes. That right there made me realize, like, wow, like that is the stuff. That's the foundation that you need to go after. Because what happens is, it's just like what she's saying. They pigeonhole us into one little group, and yeah, you be at help desk making 20,000, or you be a desktop support making 30, 40,000. They lock you in making those 20, 15, 20, $30 an hour jobs in Microsoft, where when you're in the Linux world, you can jump even higher. I worked at SOCOM for many years in J6, and one of my system administrators in there, and he was just like a basic, storage guy slash Active Directory guy. He passed his Red Hat certification, his first one, and he jumped from a normal $50,000 job to a $120,000 job with 6 years experience as system administration. And so that day then I was like, man, so so that's the secret. The secret is, diversifying your portfolio and growing, learning one base, but then jumping into another to expand your knowledge. And from when I look at hiring employees, that's the one big thing that I have seen in this industry is how diverse are you? And there's a lot of us are new. And when you're new in this game, you have to be really hungry. You have to, I tell a lot of my students at St. Pete College, you have to plan your future. You have to. You can't just sit there and be like, I want to do this. This is my goal. I mean, you don't have a motivation board in front of your face every day saying, this is what I'm gonna do. These are the certifications I'm gonna go after. Like when like with Tamika with the Red Hat Foundation, you need to throw. I don't know if you have your Red Hat chart up, Tamika, but you know what I'm talking about, the one that says administrator to Red Hat Administration 1. Red Hat 2, your certified system administrator. Like, you need to have that up on your motivation board every day, because that is, if you're trying to get somewhere, you need to put those things in place. Those are the things that motivate you and get you out of your rut. Because what they want you to do, they want you to be complacent. That's their focus. They're gonna keep you. If you're good at help desk, they're gonna keep you at help desk. Rico can probably tell you stories about how they can keep you in those positions just because you're good at that skill. They're gonna lock you in. They will lock you in. Me, they kept me as a virtualization administrator. I knew Citrix, I knew Azure, I knew Hyper-V, and I knew ESX servers. They kept me right in there. They wouldn't let me do Active Directory, but I could do it. I was always learning Active Directory or storage. I was learning, picking up storage, how it actually worked on NetApps. So you have to be careful with them trying to place you in one little spot and then keeping you there. And that's why you got to have that board there to keep you going. Every when I first started, I was getting 3 certifications a year. That was my goal. 3 certifications a year. I would block out 3 months, 3 months and a half almost. And that's what I'll do. I'll plan my tests and I'll study for 3 months straight. And I'll take that cert. And that's how, I was able to get paid very fast. After my 6th year, I already had 8 certifications under my belt. That quick. But when looking from on a business aspect, being the owner of an IT company, I look at, like what most CEOs, they look for individuals who want to take their game to the next level, even at help desk. It's that hard, even at help desk, because learning the employee who wants to learn, who wants to do the next person's job, that's the employee who's going to succeed. And you have to think of that when you're applying for your jobs, just like how she said, when you walk into an interview, you have to walk in to a company and say, how can I do your job and then do my boss's job better? Because what you're doing is you're learning, you're wanting to learn the whole process, which that's the key. Understanding how the process works. I learned how to troubleshoot a lot of different things because I was trying to be my system. I was trying to be the senior guy. I wanted to be the senior guy. That was my goal, to be the senior guy. How can I become the senior guy? What do I need to learn to become the senior guy? So, and those are the things that you have to do. You have to, drive yourself to do that, because the only way you're going to learn this stuff fast is you have to immerse yourself in it. Sometimes we can't get that job right off the bat. Sometimes we can, but immersing yourself in it, that means coming home and wasting 2, 3 hours. It's not wasting it. It's actually just taking your time understanding it. And then if you don't understand it, then you reach out to the professionals who do understand it, so then they can show it to you, just like what she's saying, where we can do a screen share and let me explain it to you. Those are the ways that you're going to actually learn it.
Yep. So the stuff that Joe was talking about was this. Let me share my screen. I think this is the one you're talking about, Joe.
Okay, which one?
You talking about this one?
Yeah. Yep, that's one, but it was the other one.
I got you.
It's
I know the other one you're talking about. All right.
it's yeah,
So
it's that
I
one and it's the other one. Yeah,
okay.
but this is
So
good to talk.
we'll talk about this one real quick. All right. So what you see here is what I know of Red Hat. There are other things with Red Hat. So when I say Red Hat and other things, you're like, well, Tamika, what are you talking about? So if you just go to redhat.com, they have different products. And if you click up here, and I'm not trying to sell you Red Hat, the reason why I'm talking about Red Hat is because most of the industry uses Red Hat. If you're looking at Kubernetes, say you're on Google, 9 times out of 10 it's probably Ubuntu, or some Debian based Linux. There are different versions of Linux. You can create your own Linux operating system if you wanted to. Um, but tonight we're going to discuss Red Hat and why I'll tell you why I like Red Hat is because I've never been unemployed with it. Is really the reason why. But other than that, you could take any operating system and understand it. Concepts again, concepts, how to troubleshoot, how to search and build out infrastructure. Again, just basic concepts. So there are products that they have in Red Hat. As you can see here, they have platforms, middleware. So again, Linux is a platform. They treat Linux, Red Hat Linux as a platform. OpenStack, um, virtualization, and then they have middleware, and then they have cloud computing, where they have again OpenStack over here, Quay, hyperconverged, um, OpenShift, and then they start getting into storage, application development, and then automation and management, right? So on this particular document here, I took the basics of just some of the infrastructure stuff. I can add OpenStack on here. But usually you'll find OpenStack installed and then people install OpenShift on top. So here we have RHCSA, and this is the everybody's like, well, what's the basics of how we're going to put things together? Here's how we're putting things together. Okay, so RHCSA is broken into two classes, and those two classes are the Red Hat 124 and the Red Hat 134. What they do is in the 124 class is for people who've never seen Linux before, don't know anything, and they start you off with that. But for me, for you to take that class as an entry is not good enough for me. I try to prep you before you go take that class. So when I say we're going to spin up a box in Amazon, we're going to spin up a box in AWS, or I mean in Google Cloud or whatever, that's so you can understand like, well, how do I SSH to a box? How do I log in? How do I um, move around on the box using different commands such as cd, or how do I change permissions such as chmod, or how do I look and see what permissions that a person has, or using ls basics. Those commands translate from a Red Hat Linux server over to a Debian base or Ubuntu server. Those commands still translate over, right? Concepts, remember. I want to keep drilling that in your head, concepts. All right. So the RECSA is really your beginner part, broken up into two classes. Inside of this RHCSA, they talk about containers, they talk about security, and they talk about how to move around on the command line. You remember last night when I was saying, hey, don't just go get your security plus and then don't get any technical skills? That's what I'm talking about. I pair up the RHCSA and the security plus together. And then, like I said before, pick a cloud. Foundational. Treat that as your foundational. All right. Inside of Red Hat bought this company called Ansible, and I think they bought them back in 2015 and made them their configuration management go to. When I say configuration management, remember we talked about Terraform as building the infrastructure. And I look at Ansible as a way to configure to make it look like what I want. So, say I want to deploy out to Amazon 3 machines. I'm going to use Terraform to create those machines. And then I'm going to use Ansible to say, I want to have a file on those machines located in this directory. I'm going to use Ansible for that. Okay. So that is the go-to between that, right? Between Ansible and Terraform. But Ansible is so much more. And you can look up the book is called Ansible Up and Running. The main two guy that Red Hat uses is I think his name is Jeff Gerling, Geer Ling or Luy. He has a YouTube channel as well too, where he talks about Raspberry Pi and using Ansible to configure it and create it. Super cool. Something you can do with your kid as well too. So just an FYI, you can check him out. So after you get your RHCSA, which is your administrator, the next level up would be your RHCE, where you're a little bit more advanced, where now instead of you being, I look at the RHCSA as I'm a client, and then I look at the RHCE as I'm building out services that that client can use. So, for example, understanding how to build a mail server, how to set up DNS, how to set up a Kickstart, just other services that you would need inside your company. Let's say that inside your company that you would need, a web server or something of that nature. So that's what I look at that for that. Now, the big thing here on this chart is OpenShift. Okay, so let's back up a little bit and let's go over here to Kubernetes. Um, doo-doo. Actually, I want to give a picture. Hold on. And let's look at some images. I'm a visual person here. What's a good picture for Kubernetes here? Mm, yeah, this one should work. Nah, that doesn't work for me. Give you a baseline. Hold on. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because Red Hat contributes to the open source project. If somebody want to drop in the open source project for Kubernetes, please in the chat. Um, And then what Red Hat, being a big contributor to it, they actually take it and they've wrapped around their version of Kubernetes and their interface around this. So that's what OpenShift is. And I'm trying to find just a baseline of Kubernetes so that you can understand. Um, see, yeah, let's look at that. It'll probably give me a little something better. Do do do. That's Anthos. I don't want Anthos. This will work. Even though they got stuff off to the side. There's another um video out there. I mean another image out there. All right, so again, we're talking about Kubernetes here. You'll have your what used to be called a master, but now they changed it to head node, and then you'll have 3 nodes that make up that cluster. And so what Kubernetes allows you to do, remember when Reginald was talking about making sure that application stays up, well, there's some inheritance, some things you get automatically with Kubernetes. So I deployed this application. I'm not going to get into the details of like using Helm and all that. We're just going to say we deployed this application, and we told as this application is being deployed, we're saying, hey, when you deploy, we want you to have 3 front end web servers up at all time, right? That's what you're doing your deployment on. And once that goes out and deploys onto the cluster, onto the Kubernetes cluster, it has what we call self-healing and self-checks that say, hey, make sure you stay up at all times. And I'm not going to go too further into this. I just want to give you the overview of what Kubernetes is so that we can go back to this picture and talk about what OpenShift is. So OpenShift is that wraparound because Kubernetes can be vanilla. When I say vanilla, no interface, just strictly, hey, you logging in and you're trying to figure it out. Well, OpenShift rides on has their own services on top of this as well too. for Kubernetes, and there's some pictures out there I need to download, and I'll post them in Slack as well too. So you can, I'll probably make a Kubernetes channel. I should have made. I think I got one, but I'll double check. But anyway, that's what that is. Now, Security Plus, uh, I look at it as just one of those things you just gotta have it. Can you get a job with it? Yes. But are you gonna be stuck at the help desk? Yes. So I look at like the Security Plus. I can pair that up with any one of the four to the left. I can get the Security Plus and do OpenShift. I can get Security Plus and have my RECE. I can get the Security Plus and do Ansible. I can get the Security Plus and have my RECSA. That's how I look at the Security Plus. And it's kind of like, how you pair up wine with with your food. That's how I look at that. All right. So what I did on this picture here too is I went through and picked out, the names of positions that you will find online. So let me blow this up a little bit. So you will find OpenShift a Kubernetes engineer, containers, a container engineer, Red Hat administrator at SME, Security Plus, cybersecurity analyst, a security, just a security. I want to say a security engineer, just security. RACE, senior infrastructure engineer, senior Linux administrator to an automation engineer. The next one would be for Ansible or automation engineer, a senior infrastructure engineer, a migration engineer, and then last but not least, senior infrastructure one and container engineer. And then I went through and found out what companies are hiring for here. These are just basic level companies. They're not anything. And then here is what I found out just from various jobs out there, the average salary that I saw for those particular positions. And then I pulled out of those positions some keywords and points that they had inside of that, right? So data admin, on-prem, hybrid cloud admin, automation engineer, Ansible test engineer, infrastructure. These are like alternate words, optional career choices, I should say. Hybrid cloud engineer, Kubernetes, OpenShift, platform engineer, platform developer, security engineer, cloud security engineer, Linux security engineer. Again, Linux security engineer, you're probably going to pair that up with this RHCE and this RHCSA. I think you inherit Ansible because most of the RHCE class or exam is over Ansible, so you just kind of roll that into one. But you could just learn this by itself. You should just go out and learn that by itself. Any questions on this? No? Yes? All right. So the other one that I want to show you was, okay, well, what do we take to get there? Um, so let's pull that up. All right. So this is
Yeah.
I think this the right one. Yeah.
They want to know if you're
I
gonna
got one.
throw the PowerPoint into the chat or
Yeah,
share it out in the Slack.
yeah, I share in the slide.
Okay.
All
I got
right.
one question. Okay.
Yes, yes.
That whole is that chart there that works for like someone on a beginner status, or do you have to be already at a certain level?
Nah, that first one is this what we are getting ready to go over right here, like some things that I've seen for it. So the RECSA is beginner.
Okay.
That's absolutely, and I'll log in and I'll show it to you. And also there's a skills assessment out there too that you could take. But the RECSA 124 is, hey, I'm new to Linux. I've never seen it before. How do I get started? That's what the 124 class is. But
Okay.
again,
Cool.
before I send anybody to the 124 class, I would prefer you have some knowledge before you go in. That's
What would
just
you
me.
recommend?
So
I agree with you.
yeah, I recommend literally spinning up a box out on Google Cloud or DigitalOcean and going from there. I'm a
Gotcha.
sidetrack for a minute, so bear with me here. This where I'm probably gonna lose some people, but you know what? Yeah, you asked for it, right? So this is if you got a Gmail account, you probably more than likely have a Google Cloud account as well too. So you can just use your Gmail account for that. Um and I'm going to literally come in here into Compute Engine, and I am going to spin up a Red Hat instance. Let's see, create. So if you choose to go down the Google Cloud path, you can just do some defaults here. Choose general purpose, choose E2, blah blah blah, and then now you need to pick your OS type. So you can leave it as Debian if you want to. I choose not to have Debian. Um, we won't talk about CentOS and Red Hat debacle right now. I'm going to be nice and leave that alone for now. So Rail 8, you can choose Rail 7 or Rail 8. We'll go with the latest and greatest. Then we'll hit select. Um, I'll leave this default, and here is the firewall. If I had an application that I wanted to run on this machine and I needed port 80 open up, and that's what HTTP equals to, and then HTTPS equals to 443. Right now, I'm just going to hit create, and it's going to go out here, and you see that the instance -1 is spinning up. It would then give me an external IP. It'll tell me what zone it is in. I don't have to SSH to this machine if I don't want to, because Google was nice enough to give me an actual panel that I can use to log into. And then from there, once we get this machine up, I can just click here and I can open in the web browser. It's going to open up a nice little interactive shell for me. It's going to drop me into that shell. And then from there, I have a Red Hat Linux box running out on Google Cloud that I did from command line. And if I turn this over to you uh, and say, hey, you need to do this 15 times, I expect for you to use Terraform. But that's okay. You can use Google Cloud too. So here we are. We're on a Linux box. So remember when I said you have to have technical skills? These technical skills that you need to have and that I'm talking about are just basic skills in terms of how do I maneuver on the command line? How do I troubleshoot? How do I find out where I'm at on this machine? If I want to find out where I'm at on this machine, I type PWD. It says I'm in /home, Tamika Reed. If I CD over to /temp, meaning change directory, to /temp, now I'm in /temp. If I do PWD again, you'll see I am in /temp, right? So what we're talking about from the RHCSA perspective, what skills you need to have, what skills do I want you walking in having, these are the skills I'm talking about. So that when you get into the RHCSA class, the very first one, you understand exactly what they're talking about. Like boom, here you go. CD command, PWD command, ls minus ltrh. Well, where she get that from? Well, we have on our Linux boxes what we call man pages, and that man pages are help pages. So if I type a man of ls, it's going to give me um, what I can do. It tells me ls, a list of directory contents. It also gives me like different what we call options. You can see that option is right here, and it gives you a description of I can pass what we call, some people call it ls tac a or ls dash a. I can do lowercase a. I can do dash dash author. I can do dash b, and there's a whole slew of things that I can pass. I chose the ls minus ltrh. You can come in here and it'll tell you what each one of those mean in terms of the options that I've chosen to give me information. So when I did the ls dash t dash h dash r, I said, hey, give me the l, give me the time, the L meaning long listing, The H meaning human readable format and in reverse order. So again, basics before you get to the class. These are the things that I want to show you what you can do first. So that way when you walk into the class, those don't look unfamiliar to you. So what happens with the RH 124 and the RH 134 is you do the 124 first, and then you roll into the 134, and then you take the exam. So it's pretty much 2 weeks. Some people take it back to back for that. But I'm trying to give you all of that first before you go enter into any of those classes so that you can be ready for the exam. Did that make sense? Did anyone get lost? Do you have questions?
I'm following along, but barely. I'm following along.
Okay, where'd you feel like you were barely, because I don't want you to barely follow along.
Okay, I got lost when you started getting into I understand what the manual what the man pages are. I got lost a little further back when you got to this. When you
How
got
how
to,
did I spin up my instance?
yes, yes.
Okay, so I have an account on Google, right? You have a Gmail account. You automatically could probably use that to create your account.
Hmm.
I mean, to create your cloud. So let's leave this.
Hold on, because
Um,
I'm finna say what you ain't gonna say. So when I typed in earlier that Tamika absolutely hates the portals and the GUIs, I was not lying. You see, she as soon as she got to spinning everything up, she switched the terminal.
Lead him
What
back.
and I don't disagree with her in the sense that if you were using Azure, you probably, or even with GCP to a certain point, you might actually want to walk through the interface so you can kind of get familiar with what options are required or optional that you need for use in the terminal. So you're not having to always flip back, and it kind of helps you learn it. Thank you, D. I forgot. Uh, and then switch to doing stuff in the terminal. But for me, because I know how I am. I go in here and I look and I see what's got an asterisk by it. What does it say I absolutely need to know in order to spin this up? And then when you get to something like the terminal or even Terraform, you're not having to flip back and forth to try to determine what's required and what's not. You can just go to the documentation, throw some stuff in, and keep it moving.
right.
She doesn't fully agree with me on that, but that's probably the
Uh,
only thing we don't agree on.
no. So when you got your Gmail account, you can go to cloud.google.com. I clicked on console. It takes me to the console of my account.
Hmm.
Because I have already created a project, the first thing it's going to ask you is to create a project.
Hmm.
So I created this project up here, desktop dash women in Linux. I can create a new project and hop over into that project.
Hmm.
So it's going to ask you to create a project. So once you create that project, if I go over here to my top left to my navigation menu, I hit here are all the things that I can do. I know that if I want to play with just the instances, I'm going to click on Compute Engine. I clicked on Compute Engine, and it's going to remember I had to do a create. I created an instance.
Hmm.
So once I created that instance, I went through what I wanted to. I always say spin it up, but it's creating an instance, just like you would create an instance in VMware or a VM on your desktop. It's the same thing. Once I create that instance, because we're in Google, it's going to give me this SSH connection right here. And
Hmm.
if you just click on it, it tells you can open in the window, you can use G Cloud commands to do it. You can use another SSH, but for the sake of time and for the sake of ease, I'm just going to click on it to open up right here in my browser.
Hmm.
And so once it's done connecting, I'm gonna get that terminal back that you previously saw. Once
Hmm.
I have that terminal back here, now I can start playing around with the different commands and moving around on the command line.
Okay.
This is to me the easiest way for you to learn just commands in Linux before you start going through and trying to figure out, well, how do I download an ISO? And then how do I install Linux? Let's get you used to being in Linux first. I like to work backwards in a lot of the textbooks and stuff. They want you to download VirtualBox, get an ISO, mount it, and then install Linux. It's great, right? But it doesn't get you to where you are on the command line first. And the reason why I'm doing it, I want you just to be comfortable.
Mhm.
Is there a GUI associated with Linux? Absolutely. We can go over that next week. I'll show you the GUI. It's probably gonna kill my spirit, my energy, my love, but it's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's how I got here. So somebody asked about the theme. You can lighten it up. You know, you can change the color scheme here. You can pick a custom color. Oh, whatever. You know, you got fonts you can pick. You know, you can do whatever you want to. So, but I wanted to show you that and this is again baby steps, small accomplishments. If
Mm-hmm.
you got a Google account or AWS account, spin up an instance. Step one, get an account, spin up an instance. Step two, log into it. Step three, start playing around in Linux. Guess what? You knew half of what other people don't know that I work with all the time.
Wow.
All right. So then the next step is, well, what can I do on this box? What does this mean? What is this, right? So when we were talking about earlier, he was talking about looking at logs. So let me just do this. Let me sudo to root. So when I say sudo, I mean I want to sudo and I want to go to root. I want to become super user of this box,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right now I'm just a lowly old user of the box. I have some control, but the control is only in my home directory, maybe slash temp and a few other directories. But now I want to be super user. So now I'm going to sudo and become root. And notice that the prompt changed, right? You see the prompt was a dollar sign.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I know I was a user. And then the prompt changed to a hashtag sign or a pound sign. So now that's how I know that I'm a super user. So now, before, if I did that PWD, it told me I was in slash home slash Tamika. Now I'm in slash root, right? And oh, now I get to do things. I get to take away people accounts. I get to create accounts. I get to go in and say, well, I don't want that user to ever log into the to this box. I get that control.
Mm-hmm.
I am now uh I don't want to say the kingdom, or I mean the king of the kingdom. I just want to say I'm the power user now, right? And so that's what the difference between being a regular user and then a super user, and that's what we call it root. That's really what it is, right? So with that being said, I want to go over and remember Reginald was talking about log files. If I cd over to var slash log and I do a ls, here is where you'll find log files. This is on Red Hat. This is on CentOS, and this is on Fedora. Ubuntu is different. There's no messages slash. There's no var slash log messages. It's var slash log. I think auth log or syslog. All right, but we don't worry about that because we focus on Red Hat. All right. So now I want to look at what's been going on this box. So if I do a vim of messages, vi meaning I want to view into that particular file, I'm going to view into this file and I can see the boot process. I can see, what's being, logged into here. You can see that I got a log session for me for when I logged into the box. Um, just different things that go into here for you to um, get information. But think about it this way. Suppose I needed to check the log files of say 1,000 servers. Would you log into 1,000 servers to check the log files of 1,000 servers?
Each and every single one.
Each and
No,
every single one. How long you think that's gonna take you?
forever.
Forever. So remember that word I was saying last night? having an automated way, a dashboard. Remember that dashboard we were talking about earlier? And he was saying you need something like a Datadog or New Relic.
Mhm.
That's where that comes into play. So remember when I said what we were talking about, being able to take these words and make pictures out of them.
Mhm.
And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to take these words and make pictures out of them. So if I had 1,000 of these little instances, 1 through 1,000, or 1 through 999, I want to be able to peer into those log files of those servers, but I am not going to sit there and log into every last one of them. I would never get finished.
Right.
I would lose my job because one, the application is going down. I'm
Mhm.
over here logging into the box trying to figure it out. Or I really don't even have permissions to log into the box. In some companies they don't even allow you to log into the box, right? They let you go look at this handy dandy dashboard to figure out what's going on with it. But what I want you to get used to is, well, what are you actually looking at when you're talking about debugging, right? um, what am I looking at when it comes to how much space is on this particular box, right? How much memory is on the box? Being able to read charts and tell you what's going on with each one of those boxes. And so that's the connection there. So when he's talking about SRE, he's talking about being able to keep the application up, keep those services running. When we're talking about DevSecOps and doing deployments, we're talking about how do we deploy the infrastructure so that application can ride on top of that that particular infrastructure. Is anybody recognizing these differences here, these terms? Do I need to repeat that?
I think I'm following along with you.
Okay.
I think I'm.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Let me know.
Thank you for your patience, by the way.
Oh man, you fine.
Oh shoot, you trying to learn. She'll be the most patient person till 3 o'clock in the morning, as long as you're trying to learn. And I say that laughingly, but I've been there.
Doesn't
It's
everybody feel like night is the perfect time to learn Linux? Like I feel like,
It's the perfect time. It's
and
the
I don't know,
best time.
I don't know what it is. Like I felt like I would get so frustrated during the day, but as soon as night hit and I started kind of nodding off, I was like, wait, no, I'm picking it up now.
It's like a fireside chat.
So as, as far as as far as using the command box, I don't really have too much experience with using that. I guess what are some additional tools where I can just get the
YouTube.
basic?
This it right here. This is it.
So
So
don't get.
let me ask you this: what you think gonna happen to this box if you mess it up?
Well, I don't think anything will happen to it, but I guess I'm more concerned with like I know where I can go get the manual where I type in that man and then the information.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I guess for me, this is like my first time seeing this stuff. I don't know how to read any of that.
That's good.
Oh, okay.
Great. Did you think you was just supposed to know offhand?
Well, no.
Like, did you think you was? Come on, man. You gotta work with me here, right? So
Okay.
what you're asking is, where can I go find a tutorial to help me understand other commands that I can use in order to move around? That's what you're
Yeah.
asking. And what I'm simply saying is, you ain't even there yet.
So
Let's
I don't need that yet.
you're not there yet. We're gonna get you there. But step one is I need for you to get on the box.
Okay.
All right. Then once you get on the box, then let's go through and say, okay, well, here's a list of commands. Here's what they mean. Here's why they're here. Here's why this directory is here. Here's all these other things. So, but let's get you on the box first. Because once you get on the box, you're going to ask me, can you get off the box? Because we're going to start moving. And you're going to be like, I ain't ready. And I'm going to be like, you said you wanted this. Right. So let's get you on the box first. And let's get some basics down first. Let's get some understanding of that first. Right. And then from there we can pick up and move. All right, so we do have one other person that's here. You can come on screen now, and we'll get back to this chart, and I'll post this chart. But he's actually at Red Hat. Are you on the are you doing OpenShift right now? Or are you doing OpenStack? Oh, he's super quiet.
And they're providing the
Hello, you there, Abraham? I don't see him. Okay, let me check. Let's see if he's still here. Let's see who's all here. I had some folks come on from Red Hat to talk about actually what we're talking about right now. Let me see. All right, let me see where they're at. But for commands, and so if you really want to like do a deep dive, if somebody want to post a cheat sheet, I'm just gonna look up a cheat sheet right here. All right, cool. All right, we got somebody here from Netflix. You can unmute yourself. I see you hit me up in Slack.
Hold up. You said somebody here from Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what lives rent free in my head? How much the Netflix engineer make? So Netflix person, I'm gonna need you to hit me up on my resume, cause yeah. Okay, I'm through.
All right, so this is a bad copy of a Linux cheat sheet, but this is the Linux cheat sheet. So if you want to learn commands, I know D has a Linux cheat sheet as well. That she a book that she uses, and then there's also the Linux cheat sheet so that you can start familiarizing yourself with commands. Commands are a dime a dozen. Um, when you get in an interview, do people expect for you to know? Yes. Do they expect for you to know how to get the answer? Yes. Can you describe how to get to it? It's very important. What you don't want is, and I don't want anyone to ever walk into out of anything that I ever taught you, is don't put on your resume that you have 15 years of experience using Linux, and uh, um, I ask you uh what's your favorite text editor in Linux, and you said I don't know what a text editor is. There's no way you could that means this interview is not going to go well for you, because you should know what that is. That's just, you should know. I'm gonna give it to you right now. Nano, Pico, VI or Vim, Emacs, and I know I'm forgetting one more. Those are your text editors. Those are that's day one. In fact, I used Vim just a few seconds ago when I opened up a file and was going through a file.
Hey, what about VS Code?
That would not be a text editor on Linux. That is VS Code. That is outside the
There's
outside the
absolutely
scope of
nothing
this
wrong with that
job.
IDE. You stop fussing at folks for using IDEs. You gotta stop. Stop it.
That is outside the scope
Stop
of
it.
this job.
The only thing people on here need to know right now, if they don't know Vim, is if you ever need to get out of something in the command line or the terminal, colon is your friend.
Yep. Escape colon. So remember that. All right.